everybody see my screen? Can I get like a thumbs up
Yes.
from somebody? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so just to start off with some housekeeping, this session is being recorded and we will share the recording after the session. We remind everyone to keep your microphone muted until the Q&A session when you're called upon. And we invite you to use the Q&A feature to post your questions, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. You can also email any questions to us at earliersystemdivision@peelregion.ca or email your earlier specialist. So as a reminder, to post a question, you can click on the Q&A icon that should be up at the top, and then that'll allow you, there should be a bar that pops up on the right, and it should allow you to post your question there. Okay, so our agenda for today, I'm going to start off by just going over some important points related to reconciliation, like the deadlines and our recovery approach. Then I'm going to hand it over to Joe Ju, one of our senior analysts. He'll walk you through the reconciliation template, and then we'll open it up for questions. Okay, so I'm going to start off by just going over a memo that you hopefully received on just a few days ago, on January 16th, and it has all of the reconciliation and reporting requirements for our 2025 funding programs. I'm just going to scroll down to the table that has all the deadlines because this provides a helpful summary. So on January 30th, the school age programs or school age funding is reconciliation reports are due, and that's what we're going to go over today. And so over here in the right column, you can see the requirements. So this program has a GovGrants reconciliation report, just like pretty much all of our programs do. And then this one also has an Excel template that we're going to walk through today. And that Excel template you will upload into GovGrants as part of your reconciliation report submission. I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. So also due on January 30th is the program staff top-up funding, if applicable. That one also has a GovGrants reconciliation report and also an Excel template that you would have likely completed already if you distributed the funding. And that Excel template you will also upload directly into GovGrants and submit it as part of your reconciliation report. And then lastly, also due on January 30th is the reconciliation for the Lifelong Learning Day. This one does not have an Excel template. It is just the GovGrants reconciliation report. And as a reminder, on April 30th, the audited financial statement and the financial annual information return, or the FAIR, that is due to Peel. And that one you email to us through earlier system division at peelregion.ca. Okay, and then there's a note here as well to complete your CWELC GovGrants reconciliation report after completing the FAIR. Okay, so that's an overview of kind of the reconciliation reporting requirements and the deadlines. Now I'm going to skip over to another memo that you received last month. This is just a reminder about how recoveries work. So hopefully this is familiar now for everyone. So recoveries are done through an automated system through GovGrants. So whenever a reconciliation report is approved in GovGrants, you should receive a notification email, and that email will indicate the recovery amount, if there is one. And the recoveries will start, almost immediately, like in the upcoming payments. Okay, so let's just walk through an example of how that works. So in this example, provider A, they have a recovery of $50,000 owing. And so this is what their monthly payment might look like. So if they have 100,000 for cost-based funding and 10,000 for allocation of profit and surplus, that's $110,000 in total. So GovGrants recognizes that there's enough room there to recover the full 50,000, And so that's what it'll do. It'll deduct the 50,000, and that provider would receive a net deposit of 60,000 for that month. So now in the second example, the provider owes 150,000 for their recovery. And so in that case, using the same payment amount of 110,000, so GovGrants recognizes that there isn't enough room to take to deduct the entire 150,000. So it deducts the entire payment minus $1, and then the remaining $40,000, $40,001 would be deducted the following month. And then GovGrants, it just kind of does this analysis every month. It just looks at what's owing and how much the provider's getting paid, and then it'll just recover what it can until the recovery is complete. Now, so if you have a large recovery and you're concerned about your cash flow, just please reach out to us as soon as possible, and then we can kind of work with you to develop a solution, right? Okay, and the last thing that I wanted to point out is just our external website. Hopefully everyone's familiar with this. So if you need to reference the guideline for any of our programs, but today specifically the 2025 school age funding guideline, you'd come to this website and you'd click on funding support for licensed childcare centers. And you can see the 2026 guideline is posted here, and then the 2025 guideline is posted here as well. Okay, and then one other thing I'll point out is in the financial policies and reporting section. So here we normally post all the materials related to reconciliation. Now, we currently have the 2024 reconciliation materials posted, so please disregard any of the 2024 information that's here. We are in the process of updating, so this should be updated soon. And you'll see the memo that I just shared with the deadlines will be here, as well as the Excel templates. So the 2025 school age funding template will be posted here. It was emailed out to everyone on January 9th. So if you haven't received it or having trouble finding it, please email us and then we can send you a copy. Okay, so that was it for my kind of review of just some reconciliation basics. So I'm now going to hand it over to Joe. I'm going to stop sharing to give us a walkthrough of the reconciliation template. So over to you, Joe.
Okay, welcome everyone. And we're going to do a quick walkthrough of the school age program reconciliation template. And we have simplified the template to reduce as much possible the information required just to help everyone with the reporting burden. And this is the first tab, provider information, which is pretty much the same for all the reconciliation. And we only require to fill the fields highlighting in green. The name of agency, the legal name, vendor number, contact name, cell phone, email, and auspice. Then here's the certification, which is still pretty much the same for almost all our reconciliations templates. And this part is kind of important. You have to sign it and date it, because based on our previous experiences, and we understand you finish all the reporting, you fill all the cells, somehow you just forgot to sign it, then you submit it, then we have to send it back, please sign it and date it. So just remember when you finish, maybe just like sign it here in the first tab before you even like do all the other tabs. So that's the first tab. And the second tab is the wage enhancement grant reconciliation. And we have the instruction here. So still input information in the green highlighted cells and report only expenses and data associated with the staff serving the school age children 6 to 12 years old. As you can see, it's quite simple. It's just like only 3 cells and your total salary spent, the mandatory benefits spent, and also hours worked. We have the definition for hours worked here. It's the pay time for hours working in program, in ratio, professional learning, planning, setup, and in meetings mandate by the organization in the funding year from January 1st to December 31st. Exclude benefit days like vacation, public holidays, and so on. We have building some error warning mechanism here because based on our previous data collected and experiences that the mandatory benefits usually lies between 10% and 20%, and it rarely is like exact 17.5%. So let's say, for example, the total salary spent is 20,000 here, and the mandatory benefits 3,400. So your benefit percentage 17%. But if we make it like super small, like it's gonna give you a message. Your input is outside the expected normal range. If the amount is correct, you can click yes and keep going. If no, just go back and change it. So this doesn't really stop you from inputting the number. It's just give you a warning. Hey, this looks kind of not correct. Are you sure? And if you say, yeah, it's $600. Okay, that's fine. It's a benefit percentage only 3%. It's still going. But if you decide, oh, I made a mistake, or our data somewhere in our data is wrong, we have to correct it. So you change it to like something more in line of the range. And if you make it super big, it's still gonna give you the same warning. It's outside the range. And if you make it exact like 17.5 percent, which is rarely the case, it's gonna give you the warning. But other ones, they're fine. And for hours work, yeah, we have the same, relatively same mechanism to detect any kind of error, because the cap for WEG is $2. So if you make it super big, oh sorry, super small hours, which means the hourly rate is super high, you're gonna get this warning message. The hourly rate is not supposed to be over $2. You just review it. Well, it can happen for some situation. It is over $2. If it's the correct data, if it's the truth, just put in the exact hours, and in this case, well, it's $100. Might not be accurate, but if it happens, it happens, right? So it's just a warning message to give you a hint. There's might be something wrong, but it doesn't mean you actually input the incorrect information. If that is true, just keep going. So it doesn't really stop you from inputting whatever the number you want to put there. And the next tab is the workforce compensation funding reconciliation. As you can see, we have the same instruction on the top. For the wage floor and wage increase, they're actually combined together. You can report them together here. We only separate them by like employee category, the program staff and the supervisor. And then you need to report the total salary spent for each of the employee category and the total mandatory benefits. It has the same benefit checking mechanism to give you warning if it's way too big. You're gonna have the warning. It's the same as what we have in WEG. Still, it's just a warning message. It doesn't really stop you from inputting the actual number there. And then the next part is the wage stability. You report the total spend and the number of the staff supported. It's part of the KPI we have to collect. And the next part is the minimum wage offset. It has two employee category, the non-REC program staff and the non-REC supervisor. Still, you only report the salaries and benefits and the number of staff supported. This one, because it has the benefits calculation, so yes, it has the same benefit error detecting mechanism designed. The next tab is the general operating fund reconciliation. We put the same instruction here, and then we only have two categories. One is the SWB, and the other one is pay equity. If not applies to your agency, because I don't think there's going to be many. For these one, it's similar to what we have in WIG and WCF. You report the total salary spent and the benefit spent, and then it calculates the percentage of your benefit. If it's too high or too low or exactly 17.5%, you're going to see the warning message. And ours work is the same, but this one is a little bit different. It's not like a WIG. We have like $2 cap. Because we have been collecting golf data for years, and we have our internal how to say, it's like a distribution that majority of the golf increase is like a couple of dollars, usually less than $6. So if you get like too high, still you're gonna a warning information. Still, it's just a statistic like a model, like a distribution. It's not really saying hey, your data is wrong. Well, if you think it's correct, then you make no mistake. Just keep yes, that is the data we have here, and then input it. So the next one is BASP, the before and after school program reconciliation. The same instruction. You need to report the amount spent on instructional days and the non-instructional days. And the next part is this cell D12. Depending on your answers, you have to fill here, or you don't have to do anything here. Do you have any sites with primary junior childcare spaces that are open and operating on the following days? And here are all the basically the breaks and the PD days. If you say yes, all right, you have to fill this table. If you say no, don't do anything, you don't have to. For these ones, these like non-instructional days here, you have to report in the operating capacity and the actual enrollment. And the next part is the enrichment program. We ask for how much you spend and the total hours spent on those programs. That's the BASP reconciliation part. Next one, this is the EPS. Same instruction, but please remember EPS funding must be used for staffs and wages and benefits only. And EPS staff cannot be included in the minimum ratio requires and are not eligible for wage enhancement. And the EPS staff must be compensated within Ontario minimum wage and hourly wage of the highest earning on supervisory RUC staff employed at your center. You must use up to 10% of the unused EPS funding. For the other you may use up to 10% of unused EPS for other 6 to 12 expenses. If you wish to use more than 10%, you request approval, but you have to ask us from Peel Region. It only has like one cell here for the spending, just total spending, how much you spend on this. But we have 3 KPIs we have to collect. So one is the number of school-age children who needs extra support, an average monthly number of school-age children who need extra support, and also number of hours of enhanced program support provided in the school-age programs. And these are the cells you have to fill for these KPIs, and here are the detailed description for each KPIs. And yeah, here's the definition of the children who needs extra support. A child whose cognitive, physical, social, emotional, or communicative needs, or whose needs relate to overall development of such nature that a child needs additional support. The next tab is the operations. This one is actually pretty straightforward. Just please refer to the guideline, page 30 to 32, for expenses eligibility. It covers a lot of part from like occupancy, transportation, nutrition, technology, marketing. It's like all the operational expenses are here. If they're eligible, just put in a number here, and you're going to get a total, which is going to be transferred to the summary. And the next tab is the WIF, the Workforce Innovation Funding Reconciliation. Still the same instruction, only the green cells and only the data and expenses associated with school-age children. It has only two categories: the planning time and the learning costs, how much you spend, and the total number of individuals supported. And for the planning time, we need the total number of actual hours supported, and that's the KPI we need to collect. And then we are down to the last tab, the summary. Still the same instruction here, and we designed this tab like the same as what you see in GovGrants. So you have to fill in the allocation here for everyone. Most of the spend are retrieved from the previous tabs you already input information with. There's only one you have to input the information and administration spend, because it doesn't have a separate tab. It's just like one number. So you type in the administration spending here, then you got everything. And this one, incentive grant, it's shown, it's designed in GovGrants tab, but it doesn't do anything because there's no allocation spending, so it's not applicable for the center-based funding. So you don't have to do anything with this one. And it's going to give you a total of the allocation spend and how much of the variances. If it's underspend, please remember your recovery will be deducted from the payments in the future. If it's, let's just say it's overspend, it's going to give you a red number. Yeah, it tells you the allocations overspend here. So the recovery to period 0. We don't provide, sorry, we cannot provide additional funding. And on the bottom, you can see there's a table here. This table is just to help you when you complete the 2025 FAIR template. It just retrieve all the data from above and give you a summary here. So when you or your accountant is filling the FAIR template, you can refer to this to get like access to information easier. And that's pretty much the walkthrough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. If you want to leave the template, like if you want to keep sharing your screen, just in case we need to refer back to it.
Okay.
So there is one question, and it looks like it relates to the tab 5, the BASP. And then I'm not sure if Casey or someone from the policy team wants to speak to it, but the question is, how do we report for combined age before and after school, children in the before and after school program that have a combination of students, some of whom are under 6 or over 6?
Hey, Jeffrey. Good morning,
Hey.
everyone.
Good morning.
So Arif, these would be, oh, sorry, I'm having trouble with my camera. These would be children that are 6 or CWOC eligible enrolled in your primary junior classroom. Is that correct?
Arif, are you there, Arif? So Arif, are you able to unmute and speak to the question?
Sure. Sorry about that. Yes. So, sorry, could you repeat that question?
So in terms of your question in the chat there, are you operating a primary junior program with children who are CWOC eligible enrolled in that program?
Actually, because it's combined age, we sometimes have two scenarios. Or actually for that specifically for that combined age scenario, you may end up reverting to a ministry ratio of 1 to 13.
Mm-hmm.
But you might have like a 50-50 split of kindergarten and school age. We also have a second scenario where you technically might fall under a school age ratio, but you've got, up to 4, and that could be a significant percentage depending on the total enrollment of that class.
Can we take that one back to the CWOC team just to make sure we have provided you with the correct response? And we'll get back to you on that one, Arif.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Arif. Thanks, Casey. The next question, I see some hands are up. I'll come to those in a second. Just the next question in the chat is regarding BASP fee reduction. For full fee students, can we reconcile the amount spent using the template methodology provided by the region for 2024 BASP fee reduction? Specifically, can we follow the methodology explained on the template? Monthly enrollment, please enter the number of children enrolled in the program. A child must be present for at least one day in that month to be counted, and each child should only be counted once per month per program type. So, Casey, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that one.
So the amount spent, just looking at the template, so that would be for instructional days. So I'm just trying to recall, the 2024 template had two different sections, one for instructional days and one for non-instructional days. So what you're going to do for the amount spent for the instructional days, I think that template should work, Arif, in terms of following the counting the number of children and the expense associated with that. The non-instructional days, though, the policy did change in 2025, where we're covering a higher rate for the fee reduction. So we're covering that 50%. So the calculations in the 2024 template wouldn't be accurate for the non-instructional days.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. I guess
Okay.
the primary thing, so thank you for flagging the difference in the rate structure for non-instructional days. If somebody could reach out to me just to follow up with that offline. But the takeaway is generally the methodology, like primarily, and specifically for before and after school instructional days, we can use that methodology of monthly enrollment.
Yeah, that would work.
Okay.
And it should reflect your actual expenses too.
Right. So that's,
Yeah.
when we do it monthly, you end up, particularly when they say, a child could have been enrolled even for one day and should be counted, then you will get to some, like it won't be exact, right? That this will be a close approximation. But it avoids us having to go day by day and try to do exact enrollment. For example, in the month of September, sometimes you'll have late enrollments, right? People who don't start right on the first day of school. So that is the reason for clarifying this. If that monthly enrollment approach is acceptable.
Jeffrey, would you have any thoughts on that, just from a budget expenditure?
Yeah, so enrollment is one thing, like the expense is another thing, right? So when you're reporting the number of children enrolled, then yes, if there was a child there and they were there one day, then they should be included in that enrollment. In terms of the expense, like that should be based on the actuals, right? So like if a child was there for one day, then then the expense should reflect the one day, like not the full month necessarily.
So in 2024, Jeffrey, both were tied together. So the monthly enrollment drove the amount spent, and that was using the template provided. So if we're not going in that direction, then it would just help to clarify what direction we can follow.
Yeah, so we can send out an email after this session, and we can address that specifically.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Arif. Okay, there's a couple of hands up. So Michelle, we'll start with you.
Hi, yes, thank you. Just a few things. This one's probably a pretty easy question. So all the KPIs, all the numbers that you are requesting for this reconciliation, it is just including before and after school program teachers and children, correct? Like everything else is excluded, right?
Casey, I believe that's correct, right? Everything that we need is in the template. And then just also to clarify, there is no separate progress report in GovGrants for school age funding. So everything that we're requesting, we're requesting it
Yes.
through the Excel template.
Okay, so
Yeah.
GOF is just school age, WCF, WAG, just pertaining to the before and after school teachers and also for the school age children. Okay.
That's right.
So that answers that question. That's great. Just a quick comment regarding, everything else is pretty straightforward in terms of like anything that ties into payroll. But the one tab that is for operations, that requires a little bit more effort in terms of, and a lot of times requires for the reconciliations to be done. So for a January 30th deadline, it's tough sometimes because sometimes we don't get our statements until this week. So if we're expected to report amounts and things like that, I mean, a lot of times we depend on our financial statements to obtain those amounts and have our reconciliations done and so on and so forth. So it doesn't give us a lot of time to do that in order to get some of those numbers that you're asking for. So it's just a general comment, in terms of the deadline, mid-February, would probably like be appreciated next year or something like that, because it doesn't give us a lot of time to get everything done to support that tab. And then also for the mixed, if you could send out like a general email getting guidance on that, because a lot of times the school age teacher will, take care of the children in the morning, then once the kids are in school, they'll come back and then their time is spent elsewhere, and then they'll go and get the kids in the afternoon and come back and then support the school age children. So what do we do, or how do we properly report the hours, the time, so on and so forth, when their time might be spread between school age children before and after, and then in the middle of the day, they're supporting other classrooms. So it kind of gets, it's a little gray there as to what to do with that.
Yeah. Casey, did you have advice on that one?
Not necessarily, Jeffrey, but I'm wondering if there's someone that could speak to like the proration of expenses and how it would relate to completing this template, because I'm wondering, to Michelle's point, if that's where it would come into play here in terms of prorating staff and hours between the two programs.
Yeah, so when it comes to staff, unfortunately, we don't have like an easy solution, because only the provider knows, right, what how much time staff are spending between the different age groups. So you'll just have to kind of do your best to kind of prorate that breakdown between staff time between the two separate age groups. And then it's similar with operations, right? So depending on what you're spending on, it might be something that benefits both age groups, and so there would have to be a proration done there. And then the same thing when you fill out your financial annual information return, right, the FAIR. So there's there might be instances where there's proration there, and so
That's right.
where necessary, it should be consistent.
It's tough though, because again, like I said, it's really hard to get the exact numbers, and it's kind of like a race now, because again, I'm still waiting on statements for December, and I'm just a little nervous that it's just going to be a big race next week trying to get everything done in terms of the deadline. And then one of the advice I was given by the EYS last year was that report the staff hours where they spend their most time. So if they're a school age teacher, then I'm gonna just put all their hours in the school age bucket, right? But now I'm hearing here that we actually do have to segregate the hours based on the actual classroom that they serve throughout the day. So if they spend 6 hours in the school age room and then 4 hours in the other rooms, that we're supposed to break that out now. Is that right?
So I see Casey has her hand up, so I'll let Casey respond.
Yeah, Michelle, to your point, that is one way that we suggest to report the staff to avoid the burden of prorating everything, right? So you report them where they spend the most time.
Okay.
The thing to keep in mind about that is wherever you're reporting the staff is where the expense should be reported to. So if they're spending a majority of their time in, working with school age kids in a primary junior program, then the expense for their time, all of their time would fall with school age.
Okay, and then another time would be supported by Sulik, is what you're saying, right? Because
Yeah,
we're reporting
There's-
all of that there.
yeah.
Okay. I see.
About the
Okay.
dead. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Jeffrey. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say about the deadline. You can request an extension. Like if it's going to be really tight, you could email and request an extension.
Okay, that would be great, just because, again, one of our statements doesn't come in, like our credit card statement, it runs in the middle of December and goes to January 22nd, but sometimes we don't even get that physical statement until February. Right, so it gets tricky sometimes, and so thank you for that. I may reach out. Thank you, because we want to be as accurate as we possibly can.
Yep. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And thank you, Casey. Okay. Tracy Ann, you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. Good morning.
Morning.
So both my queries were actually spoken about already. So as regarding the deadlines, Michelle really spoke on that, so I'm going to leave that one for now. The other one is Arif's question about the combination of the FAST classroom. I have that in all my before and after school programs. My understanding was that I needed to put the CWELC children with CWELC, put the older children with the BASP. That was my understanding. So I'm a little bit confused now what I should be doing.
That one, Tracy, I said, I'm just going to take it back to the CWELC team to provide a response in terms of the direction, which likely aligns with your understanding. But I didn't want to give wrong information on today's teleconference. So we'll send out some direction on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So there are some more questions in the chat, so I'm just going to go there. So the next question is, can we get confirmation or direction on what the allowable benefits are for each of the funding, like WEG, EPS, GOF, and others? So I don't know if Casey or Darlene would like to speak to that.
I can take that one, Jeffrey. So the guideline includes one section on benefits for 2025. So the benefits policies across the different wage grants were consolidated into one. Essentially, I don't have the rates handy for CPP, EI, EHT, et cetera, for 2025. We can see if we can get those for you. But you are paying those mandatory benefits on all of the wage grants at whatever rate is applicable to your staff. So there's no allowable percentage cap per se in 2025. It's whatever the rate you need to pay according to the law and to your staff situations. That's what you pay and that's what you report.
Okay,
I hope
thank
that
you.
helps. Yeah, we don't have different policies for the different grants in 2025. It's one policy that applies to the grants.
Okay, thanks, Casey. Okay, so I see. So Arif posted a couple of follow-up questions. So the next one was, we have the same concern about splicing the hours that staff spend working with different age groups throughout the day. So I think we've discussed that. The next one is, for the approach to staffing just proposed, how can we handle a staff member who works BASP at two different sites? One site in AM, another site in PM. So I don't think like if the sites are part of the same head office, then I don't think that matters. You know, if they are two different head offices, then technically the hours should be reported at the sites where they work. Okay, I see another hand. Christine?
Yes, hi. I'm just wondering about if you guys are aware that there is a section in the Seawell reconciliation for BAS, and it gives a proration. And how does that tie in? Because that gives a percentage with their own calculation of how much is spent on operations, on staffing. So I guess in the future, maybe be good to have one reconciliation because they already have it there. Or are we taking those numbers and plugging it into, the reconciliation that you guys have for BAS? Should it be the same? Can it be? It will be a little different because they don't have, some things specifically like I think the portion for the children and, the PD days and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just wondering how that works and if, one has an impact on the other.
So I'm just going to open up actually because I think you're referring to the FAIR template, and there is a Peel Region Grants tab where it just asks you to identify the different amounts that you received from Peel.
Mhm.
And so there is a section for school age there. So I'm just going to open that up just to confirm that that's what you're talking about there. So just sorry, give me 1 second and I will open that up. So yeah, so sorry. Let's come back to that one because like I mentioned, there is a tab there called Peel Region Grants. So it's not exactly the same as what you're doing here. So the reconciliation for BASP is only in this template, but in the FAIR you have to just identify the various grants that you received from Peel. But so in the follow-up email that we're going to send to address some of the other questions that have been raised, we can also provide some clarification regarding this one as well. So we'll take that back.
Yeah, so there is on the template, the reconciliation/FAIR template, there is sections like it gives you a breakdown all the way of every expense that in our center, how much of that goes to Seawell qualified children and how much of that goes to 6 to 12 to the after the BAS program.
Okay, so we'll follow up on
Okay.
that question. Okay, thank you. Okay, I see another hand. Is it Sadia?
Hi, yes. So my question was that the total, if you can go to tab 9 of the template, the summary, the Peel has given us allocation on different categories. So my reconciliation, it is coming within the budget of the total allocation, but one category is exceeding the allocation. But I am still within my budget and I owe some funds back to the region. So would that region consider being transferable from one category to another?
Yes. So the school age funding does allow some flexibility, right? There are some limitations though. So for example, administration, like that one you're not allowed to spend more than
Right.
your allocation on administration. And then likewise, the enhanced program support.
Mm-hmm.
So that one, you can only transfer out a maximum of 10% unless you have approval from the region of Peel.
Right.
But otherwise, yes, there is flexibility between the different lines.
All right. I just wanted a clarification on that. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, is that another question?
No, I think
Sadia?
that's from previously. Sorry. You
Okay.
can delete that. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. I don't see any other questions in the chat, and I don't see any other hands. So, I guess that concludes our session for today then, and we will follow up with an email with a recording of the session, and then also there was the question that Arif raised about the BAS programs that have like the CWELC eligible and non-eligible children, as well as the question about just how you report your expense for BASP, right, with children that are there for 1 day, for example, in the month. And then we'll also clarify the question about the CWELC, like the FAIR template and that BASP reconciliation. All right, so I think that's it for today if there's no more questions. So thank you everyone for participating. We wish you all the best in completing the 2025 school age funding reconciliation. And please remember to reach out to us at earliersystemdivision@peelregion.ca if you have any questions, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, thank you everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You too. Have a great day.